Hey everyone, and welcome to the Diablo Herald episode number 16. We actually have some cool things to talk about today. We've had a big blog post with some information about the next patch coming in. But before we talk about that, I am Huego, and I have with me, as always, the one and only, because there can be only one, Highlander. How you going?
Very good. Hello, guys. How you doing?
How's your weekend?
Mixed bag. Mixed bag.
Oh.
Mrs. was ridiculously sick, so that was on the downside. On the upside, I was spent the entire time I was looking after the baby wherever possible, watching the World Championship Series down in Sydney, which was just
like a true Australian.
I had an absolute ball.
That's good. Yes, it was pretty cool. And also we have ZiggyD. How you going, Ziggy?
The one, the only. I don't get a big introduction.
Sorry. I have to think about something. I've had that one in the bag for Highlander for like months, and I just haven't used it till now.
You need some more practice for me. We'll come up with something. We'll work it out. Yes, I'm here.
How's it going?
Not too bad, not too bad. Well, we just come back from like a 13-hour drive, so I got home literally like 50 minutes ago from that drive. We drove through the night from Huego's place after dropping him off after WCS.
Yep.
A big drive home, and just in time for the Diablo Herald podcast. What a treat.
It's all good.
Have you been preparing that on the way home? Because it certainly sounded that way.
No, I'm always this smooth. I don't prepare a thing, no.
Cool. Yeah, so we went to WCS on the weekend, which was awesome. For anyone that doesn't know, it's a World Championship Series for StarCraft. And there were some cool casters there, like HD, Artosis, and Tasteless. We got a picture with HD, which is cool. I'll show you guys.
Good.
If you don't know who
you've
HD is. I do. So that's Ziggy, me, HD, and my friend Liam, who was also there. Unfortunately, Highlander couldn't make it, which sucked. But
Sucked.
that's
in
just the way
that
things...
photo, HD's looking over at a group of girls that wanted to take a photo with him next. Really, you can see his eyes looking off to the side. Good stuff. He got attacked by like 50 people as soon as one person took a photo of him. 50 other people wanted to take a photo with him. He was just trying to get to the bar, man. He was just wanting a beer.
Yeah, that's pretty much it.
It was very cool. A lot of the guys were saying on the stream chat how it was the only StarCraft event where the MC will actually tell you to go get a beer before the final match.
It was brilliant, and everything. Well, pretty much everything about that event was perfect. It was just so Australian. I'm like super proud of Australian esports because of that event. That's fantastic.
Yeah,
and one thing to mention from like from a Diablo perspective is one. My theory behind why Blizzard's doing this series, and they're doing this big worldwide series, this whole World Championship series, and they haven't done very much in terms of their own tournament organisation for a while. Like they've always had something on the go for a BlizzCon, but it's always been really invitational only and not very open and very, very closed. And the prize pools have been like okay at the final levels, but nothing like what they're doing now. What they're doing is huge.
Yep.
So I've actually got a bit of a theory that the budget for that would normally have been spent on BlizzCon is being in part spent on this now.
Right.
So
It definitely seems
because we don't have a BlizzCon this year. And it's the first time in a couple of years that we've actually not had a BlizzCon. So that's one of my theories. So yeah, if you're wondering why it's not there, you can blame StarCraft to a degree. But the other thing that's I think really, really good is that StarCraft's been out for a while, and sure it has like Heart of the Swarm expansion coming up like within the next 12 months or so, but it's been out for a while, and it's like a huge dedication to that game and that gaming community, and there's not I can't really see what the short-term return on investment is for Blizzard. I can only see long-term.
Yeah, there's no short-term return on that. They didn't even sell tickets. They sold them for $0.
Yeah, exactly. And the guys that will make the money off all the ads or even on the stream is the Australian tournament organisers, not actually Blizzard, who helped fund the whole thing. So I just think that that's fantastic, and I think there's massive props to Blizzard just for their commitment to their games in the long term. And they've just got this epic history of doing it. It's not a new thing, and if you thought they'd changed, this is definitely one example of one way that they haven't changed. So, yeah, totally massive props to Blizzard for all of that.
Yep.
Even if you're mad at them about Diablo, you can't fault them for this. It was awesome. They even had some reps in the crowd, just like chilling and watching the show and stuff. Like,
Yeah.
they obviously are as passionate about it as we are. Like seeing the guys watching the show and cheering and everything, just like us. It was awesome.
Yep.
But like, I think it just shows the commitment to their games in general. So like, even if you're really sick of us talking about StarCraft, it's just that's cool. Totally get that. But they've got that commitment, and that's into game.
Yep.
And yeah, I think that's just fantastic.
Yeah, it definitely seemed pretty high budget in terms of production value. They had like full light rigs and everything. It was pretty full on. Looked like they converted that whole area into big stage and everything. So yeah,
They threw some serious money at it for such a small region.
yeah.
But yeah.
Cool. So let's get on to some actual Diablo content now.
We actually have some. We don't need to talk about another game this week.
Yeah.
Well, we can, but we'll talk about Diablo.
Okay.
So there was a few headliners that we'll mention before we get into the patch information. We had character profiles come out. So I'll just switch to my character profile thing there so you can see what it looks like if anyone's not looked at it. Pretty cool. There's a lot of information there. Yeah, it's pretty exciting. Ziggy wanted to mention a few things about this.
Yeah, well, this is like, it's cool, and the profile's really cool. You can see what your friends got and stuff like that outside of the game. It's something that should be there. I've seen it in a few other games. It was there in WoW, and it's a cool feature. But it has some other pretty important implications. Like if you go to sites like DiabloProgress.com, and there's a couple of different sites like this that pull data from this system. Now that they're on the website, they can be freely pulled out by other websites. So you have sites like Diablo Progress that rank players, by region, by world, by all these different stats. Like you can look at elite kills and things like that. Even things down to like gold picked up and stuff like that you can find out on these players. So this has the effect of showing, you can see who the best players are in the world at any one time, who's got the most elite kills, what gear they're running. You can almost see what build they're running, like theory off that sort of stuff. So, unless they like change it up and stuff like that. And you can also see all the most successful in the world gold botters. Like I'll give you guys a link here because this one's a pretty funny one. I'll send it in both chats.
Cool.
But this fella here is this level 60 Demon Hunter here running all of this massive movement speed and gold pickup radius and gold pickup gear here, and their massive amount of elite kills, like ridiculous 311,000 elite kills, 24/7 professional botting going on here. So now, like, I don't know if Blizzard has any plans. Like, they've already had access to this data, so I'm sure they know about it. But this guy's obviously been running for a while, so it's
What's
pretty cool
his progression though?
I don't know if it says progression on here, but you could definitely go back to his profile on the Diablo site, on the official site, and find that sort of thing out. So you definitely see time spent in hell. Probably he's probably farming some low-level hell content over and over again.
Yeah, so he hasn't played any hardcore, and he hasn't gotten through Inferno.
And he's got one character.
He hasn't beaten Act 1 in Inferno, but he has 311,000 elite kills. So
inhuman.
Yeah, exactly right.
Yeah, and it's like running all the perfect gold farm gear. It's pretty, and this was also interesting for other botters because they can work out their exact gear and build. It's going to increase the efficiency of current gold botters who aren't quite up to that level, up to the same level, because they can see what the guys who are really successful are doing. And maybe it can help people fly under the radar as well. Like, as long as we stay off the first 10 pages, people probably won't notice we're botting.
Yeah.
So it's interesting. It's interesting what it shows. But definitely, it's just fun to look through some of the profiles and see what people are doing on there.
Yeah.
Check it out. DiabloProgress.com is a good site like that.
Oh man, that is not cool, bro.
Who can link that crap? Who was that? Yeah, alright.
Someone's trolling you in the chat.
Yeah, I got trolled.
Don't click links in the chat, man.
Alright.
Don't trust them.
No worries. I Pickering. I've learned my lesson. Thank you.
You're so generous. No banhammer, just thank you for the lesson. Thank you for trolling me. I feel like I've learned something today.
I think I have.
Yep.
So, any other thoughts on the gear, on the build, whatever it is, character profiles, that one?
Well, I mean, there's totally a a counter argument to or something that a point of frustration out of this, which is, so we can now search this data and find it no problems. And what the hell, Blizzard? Why haven't you acted before now? It's ridiculous. This perfect example in this account that you've linked here is 311,000 elite kills, hasn't gotten past hell difficulty. There is no way in hell that's a human being. It's just ridiculous. It's just not possible. And it's not even a team of human beings. It is a computer.
Yes, and this account here has been, with those stats, has been running before that massive bot, wave of bot bans. So
yeah.
I don't know if they skimmed the top and this guy was actually below that and just moved up because all the rest got banned, or if they just banned some random ones that they'd been keeping an eye on and missed these guys somehow, even though there's super obvious stats going on.
Yeah, and it's frustrating. It's pretty piss weak.
Mm-hmm. Cool.
So I don't know. That's the only downside out of this, or the thing it highlights, I suppose.
Yeah.
Cool. Is that all wanted to mention on character profiles?
Yeah. Overall, it's cool. I think it's a cool feature.
Yeah, definitely good for that time that you find the item. Will that mate use it or not? Would he need it? Do I need to save it? You can pull them up nice and quick. It links to all your friends list really easy, so that's very cool. And there's lots of other nice things about it. Just the way it's structured, their layout's really cool. It's very polished. So whilst it's as yet incomplete in terms of achievements, and that's important, and what you'll be able to get out of your blacksmiths and stuff, which is again those recipes I think are important to have as well. But overall, it's really, really, really good, and they've just done it so nicely. Very impressed.
Mm-hmm. Cool. Well, next news topic is Blizzard getting hacked. So Blizzard's servers were hacked. Apparently, they didn't get any credit card information or any financial information, but they did get logons and password information, as far as I'm aware, and something to do with mobile authenticators. So I'm not sure what that information, how they would even use that information. Obviously, Blizzard was not real forthcoming in terms of the exact information of what they got, but they did say that they were able to access some mobile authenticator information, and that they don't think it would have any effect on mobile authenticators. But yeah, that was pretty much all they said. So there was not much more.
They also got the secret questions and answers for everyone. So
right.
Yeah. So I'm just going to straight away say that secret questions and answers are absolutely pointless, and they're just there to have a way for people to socially engineer us and get into our accounts. It's just a stupid system.
Yeah.
So Blizzard says that they're not going to be able to get your accounts with just that information, but so why is it even there? But yeah, maybe still worth changing those though, because I don't know the extent of this and how many accounts they access and things like that. But you should probably change all that stuff anyway, just to be cautious.
Yeah.
So this is interesting because there's lots and lots of claims, and I was a believer that Blizzard's sites were bulletproof. Even professional hackers and stuff are saying that Blizzard's bulletproof. We don't go after Blizzard, we just go after the forums and stuff. The easy pickings. But someone maybe took that as a challenge and went for Blizzard. So yeah, the stuff about the authenticators makes me really nervous. What have they gotten about authenticators? Like, why hasn't Blizzard said specifically what it is? Now, is it an issue, security issue for them to say what it was? And is it something we should be concerned about? Should we be changing our authenticator serials or something like that? I don't.
Yeah, yeah, they didn't really say. I mean, for anyone that doesn't know, basically how the authenticators work is it has like a secret seed code or something like that, and the seed code is like a base for how it works out your authenticator number, and they take the seed code and like the date and time and put them together through some thing, and it comes out with that number. So if they were able to
get... That was a really good technical explanation. That was really good.
Well, hopefully some people got some more understanding out of that. But if they were able to get like the seed code, then I could see how that could possibly, make, it easier to hack people's accounts with the authenticator. So who knows? But yeah, that's right. Apparently there's a mobile authenticator update coming.
Okay.
So it hasn't come out yet, but it's on its way, hopefully.
And just to stress, you still should get an authenticator. Like, just because that information was kind of accessed, all the passwords were accessed. So it did say that they're encrypted and blah, blah, blah. They can't just go type them in. They're going to have to decrypt them individually and stuff, for what that's worth. Like, you can, on my little smartphone here, where's my camera again so I can see what I'm doing? It's like this is my little Samsung Galaxy, and I have a little button there, and I hit refresh, and bam, I have my new little authenticator thing. I type that in. It's very, very, very easy. So download it if you've got a phone that can hack it, can handle it, and make sure you get them, because those it takes us money and time to get those physical ones over here. So just get the mobile one, and don't think it's they can hack you anyways. It's all about reducing the chance of them hacking you. If they want to hack you, they'll hack you, but it's all about reducing the odds of them hacking you, making it harder for them. And that's the best thing you can do. One small little tip as well, if you're like totally paranoid about getting hacked, is one thing that I've seen quite commonly, especially when there's all these hack threads about, was people's last use character was the one that was getting accessed and thieved of all of its items. So even if their last use character was level 7 character, and they've got their level 60 with all their god items, it would be the level 7 character that was stripped naked, and everything that's in their stash. And the reason for that is because it's a bot, of course, doing the theft, doing the attempts, getting in, and then conducting the theft. So if you're super paranoid about it and you want to do everything you can to avoid getting hacked, or if you're going to be going away for a few months or something, then just create a new character, log in with that one first. You'll still lose your stash, but you'll at least keep something.
Cool.
That's a weird one. That's weird.
It's weird, but it makes sense that hackers would use bots to efficiently screw you.
Yeah. I think they make a bit more clever bots. But I've linked some more information in the chat and in the Skype and everything. That's just saying that they recommend you change your password. Obviously, like I still haven't done it because I've been away, but I will plan on doing that at some point, which is a pain in the ass because I just changed my password recently and I hate remembering it. But something you got to do. Something you got to do if you want to be safe. And there's just a little bit more information about some of the information relating to hacking, pretty much stuff I've already said, but they're a good read as well if you want to check those out. But yeah, change your passwords. Good stuff.
Good advice.
Have you guys changed your passwords yet?
Sorry, keep going. I'll be back in 1 second.
I haven't done it yet. No.
I will now.
Yes. So let's go on to the patch blog. So we got some information about coming changes in patch 1.0.4 in a bit of a blog style. A lot of you have probably read it, but for anyone that hasn't, we're going to go through the changes now. It's planning on being released end of August, so it's not like that far away, really. we'll see if they release it on time. So Blizzard have released information. The first thing is they're removing averaging of gold and magic find in multiplayer games, which is something that I'm surprised they didn't do earlier. But yeah, any thoughts on that, Ziggy? How do you think it's going to affect the game?
It's an interesting one. I guess I'm not too sure about it. I don't think it's still gonna have its own problems, but on a personal level, I don't mind that. Like, I think the averaging thing personally doesn't sit very well with me, but I'm seeing a lot of people on the side of the fence on that one, so I don't really know if it's a good or bad thing.
Yeah. Removing the averaging on gold and magic find, Highlander. What do you think of that?
Well, I'm used to it because that's what it was like in Diablo 2.
Yeah.
And it wasn't the end of the world.
Mm-hmm.
I really liked this system, and I thought it had a good purpose.
Mm-hmm.
I thought it had a good point. One of the things that they didn't mention was that this removes part of that social anxiety that when you're about to have a kill and you don't know if your other guys have changed their gear. Well, now as a courtesy, you can try and not kill something and allow them to change their gear. But ultimately, if they don't change their gear, it's not going to impact you.
Yep.
So it reduces that interplayer anxiety.
Yep.
So that's good. A fan of that.
Yep.
Apart from that, I don't know. I think they kind of just. It's one of those things that maybe they, and I think they said this in the blog, where they'll try it out and maybe they'll test it and send it back. And like, as much as people can complain that thanks for the beta that cost us $90, and we'll get the full game eventually. Some of these things there's no way to know until you've had it out there in the community exactly what the best result's going to be. So fair play to them for just saying, hey, we're going to try this.
Mm-hmm.
And if it doesn't work, they'll send it back. So
the obvious biggest issue of it though is that, well, what's always been the case is that you might have people jump into your game.
Yeah.
Now that you can't really choose games, you might have people jumping into your game in full magic find gear and just letting you do the work and getting the magic find. People mooching off you, like not bothering to change their gear and just having ridiculous magic find gear with no stats on it. So that can be a pain if you're not playing with friends and things like that.
Yeah.
But otherwise, I think it's good. Like, to have the personal touch. It's personal loot, so why not have personal magic find? But yeah, there's still the mooching problem.
Yeah, that's what always seemed odd to me. Like, it makes sense, in Diablo 2 in a world where the loot is shared, but since it's already divided, it seems like having magic find divided makes sense as well. So, guess we'll see how it goes. I think your mic just died, Highlander.
I just muted it for
it made the beeping sound. It made the beeps. Yeah. Cool. All right. The next one is, so they're increasing the health of normal monsters by 5 to 10% and increasing their magic drop rate. So the idea behind this is to make the difference between normal monsters and champion and elite packs smaller, so that it's not so much of just ignoring all of the regular monsters and then running into a champion pack that's like running into a wall. They want it to be a bit more smooth. So as well as increasing, basically making normal monsters harder, they're lowering the health of champions and rares by 10 to 25%, and they're changing some affixes as well. But what do you guys think about that? The smoothing out of the difficulty between normal monsters and champions. So either of you have something?
I think it's good actually. It's really I was reading a post on Reddit just the other day where somebody was saying that this build isn't really geared quite so much for elites, and the consistent response, and the correct response was, well, then it's a stupid build. Everything should be geared against elites because there isn't anything else. Everything else is trash mobs, and they're named trash mobs for a really good reason. So I think that's a really, really good change. And I don't know. I think it might not even go far enough. But again, test it and we'll see.
Yeah.
But it'll be good that there's a greater chance that those things will drop something, greater chance it'll count, and a bit more difficulty. The only downside to it is that it's just if I read that correctly, it's just an increase to their health, isn't it?
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
So the people that were running by are going to have no problems continuing to run by them.
Mm-hmm.
It's only a question of, are they worth stopping to kill?
Yep.
So, and if they've increased increasing the health by what, 5 to 10%,
Doesn't change that at all.
no,
Yeah.
exactly right. And they're going to increase their magic their chance of dropping something, but they didn't say if that's going to be commensurate. So, they're increasing a likelihood by a factor of 4. Sorry, so that's obviously a significant increase. So hopefully they've worked that out as being the balance where it's actually there is some point killing them.
Yeah.
Otherwise, they're just going to make it easier to just run by and kill the elites because now the elites are easier.
Yep. Yeah. So it's some of these changes do worry me a little bit because something like that, as simple as just increasing the health, it doesn't seem like it's really fixing a problem. Yeah, it's just kind of that's a good point you bring up about the are they worth killing, and if you can ignore them, changing their health isn't really going to change that at all. It's just going to...
So if they up the damage as well, that'd be a different story. You make it harder to ignore them as well.
Yeah. Yeah, so who knows? How about you, Ziggy? Have you got any other points to mention on that?
I agree with Pat that it seems like it's not a big enough step. It's a step in the same direction with what they're already going, but it doesn't seem big enough. Like, I don't know, that percentage doesn't change. Doesn't really feel like much of a difference on things that don't have as much health as elites anyway. Like, it's only a little bit, like it's going to slow some people down a little bit. But overall, though, the direction I'm happy with, like an increase in general difficulty of trash mobs. Like, they shouldn't just be a non-issue. Like, elites are still the focus, and they'll still be the focus, but I'd like to see it be, a more general difficulty. Like, as it said, shrinking the gap. I don't know, it's cool.
Yep. Cool. Well, they're also changing some of the affixes. They're completely getting rid of invulnerable minions affix, which is interesting. How do you guys feel about that? Do you really hate the invulnerable minions affix?
Yeah, it's pretty stupid, but they said they were going to adjust it, and I was keen to see some sort of adjustment that made it a bit more interesting to fight against, but just removing it, I don't know, it's kind of boring.
Yeah.
Good, but boring.
They must, I guess they must have just tried to adjust it a few different ways and couldn't really figure out a way to make it balanced for all classes. What do you think, Highlander?
Yeah, I suppose they must have thought through stuff like that. I mean, I would have. I'm disappointed to see it go completely like that. Just for the lack of diversity. I would have loved it if they made it so that it couldn't spawn with certain other things, and on certain monster types as well. And just made it like super rare. Then it would have been like, oh, I haven't seen this before. Wow, this is really hard.
Yeah.
I haven't seen this before, but I haven't seen this in forever. I mean, the programming's already there. I don't know why they'd remove it completely, but that's okay.
Yep.
Maybe it'll come back later. They do that sometimes.
Yeah, I'm not going to cry seeing it.
No.
I'm definitely not going to cry seeing invulnerable minions disappearing. Cool. So the next one is they're increasing the raw damage value of level 61 and 62 weapons. So basically, the idea behind this was they didn't like the fact that you could pick up level 61 and 62 weapons, look at it unidentified and go, I know that's going to be terrible regardless of what the stats are, and then basically throw it in the bin. So they're increasing the damage in the hopes that it might make, some of them actually useful. So that will be cool. But they didn't really say exactly how much. They just sort of said that level 61 and 62 items will possibly be able to have as high a DPS as level 63 items.
Yeah, as the highest DPS of level 63. So it's going to be rarer for them to get that, but that'll be comparable overall.
Yeah.
I think I go first on this one because I think it's awesome. It's a really boring part of the game is the fact that in the end everyone's going to be wearing level 63. So, it's still going to be the case, but I'd like to see, until then, I'd like to see more of a mixture of people, who have mostly high level 63 kits still rocking some high level 61 weapons because the DPS is still what they want. And with DPS being the main factor in weapons usage, like weapon choice at the moment, this change makes it so the affixes are the only real difference if you can get a high roll on a high level weapon.
Yep.
Apparently, yeah, I think my internet might be doing something weird. Sorry about that, guys. Is it
yeah,
audible?
Yeah, it's not too bad. Yeah, it's just Skype automatically lowering the quality because the connection's obviously not too good. So sorry about that, but hopefully it'll get better. It was better earlier. Stop downloading torrents.
Oh, no, sorry, I'm not torrenting. Oh wait, we are torrenting.
Really? Ouch.
That's shocking.
We're downloading stuff after, sorry.
Oh dear. Just wait 1 hour.
As someone in chat said, your webcam's on par with Minecraft.
Alright, I'll cancel it for a sec.
Cool. Amy's not happy. Alright.
So
where were we? We're talking about these weapons.
Yeah, so I think that's good because the whole idea, I guess, is for there to be that 1 in 10 chance that a level I-61 is going to be, better than a 63, an average 63. So sorry, what were you going to say, Highlander?
Oh, I think that's good. The suck that and you drop weapons so often, and it's so much of what you bring back in your haul after a run. It's a really good change to see that they'll have a chance of being good, and it's also perhaps something that they're doing for uniques that they're creating as well, so that there's actually a point in having a level 61 or 62 level unique that's for its random stats, it can actually roll something that's worthwhile. So maybe they've done it in that sense to keep them competitive for their random stats, presuming they're going to keep making legendaries with random stats on them.
I'd like to see it go even further in terms of legendaries.
High
level 40 legendaries still useful in some very niche applications. So it will all depend on how the legendaries pan out. But so sorry about my webcam. The download will be finished in 5 minutes, so it should be good then.
Cool. We won't ask you anything for 5 minutes.
All right.
Okay. Cool. Next one is two-hand weapons. So they were saying that they're not real happy with the way two-handed weapons are going versus one-handed. In most cases, having one-hand and an offhand is better than having a two-handed weapon. So there's a few changes they're doing. So they're actually adding a new set of affixes to make up for stats lost not having an offhand, which they didn't really say what they were. I've got no idea what that could be. I can't even imagine unless they're just gonna put like more stats on two-handed weapons. Like I can't imagine what they could be doing with that.
It says stronger affixes, so it sounds like it's going to be the same, but with some higher rolls, perhaps, like they're rebalancing the rolls, basically. But it would be cool to see some more unique two-hander specific stats roll, but I think it would just be increase in numbers.
I thought it actually said a new set, like a whole new set of affixes.
A new set of stronger affixes. Oh, okay, all right.
Yeah, I don't know.
So
the wording. Ambiguous.
I mean, they should have stronger affixes than other weapons.
Yep.
Makes sense. and to have it as all, like an extra tier above, that's great.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Cool. So one of the other things that they said about two-handed weapons was that they're changing how some skills calculate damage, and they're talking about like damage over time skills. So this is actually, I read it about 4 times because it's a little bit confusing. There's a lot of like mathematics involved, but I think the thing was that one-handed weapons were being favored in certain skills just because of the way it was calculated, so they're changing it so that it's a lot easier to understand, and it also means that two-handed weapons are going to be gaining an advantage with those skills. I should bring it up so that I can read out the examples. Where is it? Sorry, I'll just bring it up here because they did give examples.
There's definitely some number porn in there for people that want to check it out and do some hardcore calculations.
Yep. Actually, it doesn't really say. It's just a whole lot of numbers. Did you read it, Highlander? Do you get how it works?
I mean, I don't know. It kind of makes sense to me. I'll just read it as it is and then elaborate. So, what we've done in most cases, when they're increasing the affixes, is also increasing how it works. Is they've assumed that you'll have a high attack speed, so like 2 attacks per second. They've picked a value just for whatever they want it to be, and then they've bumped that value even higher. So it makes sense with a worked example. A skill that currently does 75% weapon damage for 5 seconds, so damage over time, with 2 attacks per second. That would convert to 750% weapon damage over 5 seconds. So that would be the 2 times the 5 times the 75%. So if you're doing with that in that same scenario, if you were just doing 1 attack per second, then you would have 375 damage over 5 seconds. So that duration will remain the same, but how they calculate that 750% is number of attacks per second times the length times percent weapon damage. So anyway, it's going to be like they said, it's going to be a small buff for most one-hand builds and a big buff for two-hand builds, because it's really going to, you're going to be just multiplying out your damage that much more.
Yep.
And that could be really, really cool with, some of those things, like when looking at something like zombie bears, it's a skill that's hugely mana intensive. And in theory, what you would think would be you want to have a really, really slow casting weapon, because it's going to deal more damage. So, like if you've got a 1500 DPS two-handed weapon, one might do 1.2 attacks per second, one might do 0.9 attacks per second. In theory, you should want the 0.9 one, because you're going to chew through your mana more slowly, because you'll need less casts to deal the same amount of damage. Or more likely, you'll deal more damage once you've drained your mana pool. The downside is, like, obviously you've got a maneuverability issue there, and it's, you're not very nimble in combat, and that's a major issue, especially for a freaking witch doctor who has the slowest casting animation ever. But aside from that, this will now actually make that theory more likely to work in practice, because in practice it just didn't multiply out that well when you're using an ability, and especially now with especially if it was a damage over time ability, it just didn't work in theory at all. Sorry, it worked in theory, but it just didn't work in practice at all. So yeah, so hopefully this will make that change a little bit better, and buff those especially at the slowest end of the spectrum, which is I think just staffs. I think it's staffs that are 0.9. And maybe two-handed maces are 1 or something like that.
Right.
I think that's really good, because it sucked that something that was so obvious as that, I want to build that uses less mana but does more damage per tick. so you use a two-hander, but it just wasn't panning out that way because the numbers were screwing it, and you have no way of seeing these numbers without just experimenting and like calculating and like doing all that stuff. Like the fact that you can't see the numbers and that it was just getting screwed over by these invisible numbers sucks. So that's awesome that they're fixing it to be more in line with what it should be and what you looking at it should think will actually work. So that's cool. That's awesome. Thanks for crunching the numbers on that one, Pat. I hate math.
I knew I could count on Pat to do that for me. Cool. Cool. So the next one is they are removing the range timers on champions and rares, leaving it as it is on bosses, but removing it on champions and rares. So what they said about this was it made sense on bosses because of the predictability and their set skills and all that kind of thing. Whereas on the champion packs, it was more having the range timer really was more just like a DPS check, which is not really the way that they wanted to go. I think they realized it's not really the way they should go, because you basically end up, fighting this monster, and the reward that you get from killing them is the loot, and if you die to them and then they heal, then it's just like, what are you doing it for? Because you're not doing it just to beat the champions, you're doing it for the loot. So yeah, they're just taking that out flat out. So would you guys agree with that, what I just said about the reward?
Personally, I'm a fan of removal of enrage timers on elites and champion packs because I think it really ruined the way I want to play ARPGs, which is being more tactical. Like I love range classes and I love playing hardcore, and I really want to take my time on a really hard pack and just chip away at them. And if I have to pull back and let my health regen for a sec, I don't mind if they have health regen. That's fine. Like that's just something you have to deal with. But I hate this instant heal after 7-second BS. It's just so stupid and just made the game opposite of what I wanted to be in that instance there. But so the removal of enraged type is really good. The healing, I don't know. I don't really know what is a good mechanic for the healing. Like I said, I think I prefer like some sort of regen rather than an instant heal after 7 seconds or whatever it was. So I'm not too sure about the second part, but the removal of enraged timers is really good. I hate that on them. On bosses, like fair enough, it's okay, but not on those guys. Even some bosses I'm a bit iffy about. Yep.
Yeah, I think that's the slowly killing champions that are really, really hard because whether you're in a place where you're not supposed to be at your level or whatever, it's just always been the way that Diablo has been, and I can remember doing that sort of thing like all the way back to starting playing Diablo. It's always been that way where you're fighting a pack for ages and you go back to town, you get some health potions, you come back, you fight them some more, that kind of thing. So, yeah. How about you, Highlander?
The good thing I like about it is that I never saw enraged timers as being very Diablo-esque, and so that's good that they're gone. One thing that I do like about it is that it's coming back to what I was saying before, is they tried it out. They tested it. They didn't really like it. Great, they're going to go with something else. So, the game is evolving. It's not done. And, it's not going to be done for ages because they're going to keep working on these things. Tweak it this way, tweak it that. So that's great. One of the things that, I agree exactly with every point ZiggyD made there. But the one thing that I don't like about it is that I see this as a pretty big nerf to Inferno. Just getting through section after section, in Act 3 is now going to be a lot easier. And it's going to come back to that problem that they were talking about patches ago now where, you can zerg things down. You just run in, take a fifth of his health off, die, come back. And, I know that they've got this whole thing about like the repair costs are bigger, but if you find one really solid item, just one, and then you flog it instead of using it, and keep in mind that that really solid item might only be like a 1% increase to your total ability. If you flog that on the auction house, then your repair costs you're set for life. If you spend that on repairs and not buying new stuff, you're going to have plenty of time to buy plenty of money to buy potions and make repairs. So, and they're reducing the repair costs for high-end items even further.
Yep.
So which is obviously the next point. But yeah, I'd like to see something to counteract this in terms of Inferno difficulty, and I'm not seeing it. So straight up nerf to Inferno. That part bumps me out. I like everything else that they're doing.
Yep. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I guess if you're dying a lot to these champion classes, these champions, then yeah, I guess you should definitely be punished for that. But it's not always that you're dying a lot. Sometimes it's just the fact that the champion's so hard to take down, and it just takes a long time. You have to keep kiting them and that sort of thing. Like, as a monk, I've had numerous occasions where I've just kited them for so long, having my own regen and shields and all that kind of stuff, just going up against the champion pack for so long and not feeling like I couldn't defeat them, just that it takes a long time because I don't have a lot of DPS and I've got a lot of sustain. So yeah, I really like the fact that they're taking out the enrage timers.
Yeah, ridiculous tanky builds should be a part of the game, like builds that just do no damage, but just like for really patient gamers
Yeah.
that just want to stand there and just take everything. Some people get a kick out of just standing there in like arcane lasers, molten, plagued, all that stuff, and love just standing there, and they should be able to do that and slowly chip away.
Yeah, definitely.
That's cool. It's cool.
Cool. Yeah, and so as Pat said, the next one was the reducing repair costs. Now this is on high-end items only, and it's reducing by 25%. So I'm guessing that means level 60 and above, but we don't really know because they didn't tell us exactly. They just said high-end items. So yeah, I'm kind of like neither here nor there on that, because I agree with you, Pat. Like I think that there's no real problem with having a high repair cost. Like you shouldn't really be dying, and if you are, then I feel like there's something wrong. Like you've got to go back to the drawing board. Do you guys agree with that? Or do you
if you're in softcore, you shouldn't be dying too much. Like I think dying is a big part of softcore. It's just there.
Yeah.
Like might not be everyone's favorite playstyle, but other people's it is. And that's one way of learning. And having the repair costs there to negate you from doing just stupid stuff over and over again and breaking the game is good. And yeah, I don't have a problem with high repair costs. I want them to be like astronomical, but I can see why people got frustrated with the really high repair costs. But eventually, it's going to be a non-issue for everyone. Like gold's just not going to be an issue for that sort of thing in the future. And as Pat said, you can sell one item and use that for ages.
Yep. Yeah. Definitely.
It just depends on how they define this high-end items. Is it, like you said, like just Inferno level 161 plus, or is it ones with higher stats? Because obviously, there's a big difference. And I noticed this in my repair bills. There's usually one or two items in my gear that are really the standout items, and they're the bulk of the cost. So yeah, maybe it'll be certain stats above certain levels. The really actually high-end items.
Mm-hmm.
Not that I claim to have an actual high-end item, because I don't. But I can see the difference. So We'll see. Yeah, I don't think it's going to make a real big difference either way.
Yep. Cool. All right. So the last thing they mentioned in there is class changes. He's basically just given us an idea of what they're doing with class changes. They're apparently doing quite a lot of changes and bringing up a lot of underused skills, giving them buffs. He's put a lot of examples in there. Now this part actually sort of scared me a little bit, because it seemed a bit, just a bit too carefree, and I don't know, I get worried about just buffing champions. But I mean, I'm sure that they'll be doing a lot of testing and all that sort of stuff. So he's basically said, where is it, that if a skill's underused, then he just says polish the skill more. If it's a skill that fills a similar role to an extremely popular skill, then buff the skill to be competitive with the popular skill. Which seems really simple, but I don't think it's that simple, really. The example he gives is Bowler Shot on the Demon Hunter. It could be a good skill, but it doesn't have the same raw damage as Hungering Arrow, and so they're going to buff Bowler Shot to be more competitive. They're really different skills. The damage of Bowler Shot happens like a second after it hits, so it's going to be interesting to see what they do with that. I think that's the main difference between Bowler Shot and Hungering Arrow. Maybe, I don't know if just increasing the damage will be enough to make it used. It's hard when you're in Inferno running around and things are killing you. You don't really have that 1 second to wait for the damage to hit. So
well, in this instance, I think a damage buff to Bowler Shot would make it an alternative for a different style of build to Hungering Arrow, because nothing will beat the DPS of Hungering Arrow, but if they make it so that maybe it's comparable or even better than Hungering Arrow, which I think it should be better.
Definitely.
Because of the utility of Hungering Arrow and how easy it is to use. It's the easiest main attack skill to use. Bowler Shot is a lot more difficult. That's why not many people use it. It should do more damage. I feel like it should do more damage. So buffing the damage on that one would make that a significantly different skill. But in general, the idea of just buffing skills to make them, an alternative or something doesn't make sense. They should make skills more different if they're too similar. Yep. So if there's two skills that are interchangeable, one's just better, then they should make the other skill different, not just better to compete. But this is one example where I'd disagree with what I just said.
Right, yeah.
Where I think pure damage increase for Bowler Shot would make it a different skill.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Well, I think they've got enough of that in there already. I mean, they've obviously, when they were designing the game, they obviously thought through all the skills, and they thought, these two skills are similar but different, And the difference is, they're both generators. They're both generators that deal damage. They have no other real utility. One, one has a time damage and the other one bounces around, but effectively they're just doing the same thing, and there's a lot of skills that are like that. There's an awful lot of skills that are like that.
Yeah.
And it's just like I said, it's really just a slight thing.
Mm-hmm.
I think that they've got enough variety in there. Of course more variety is always great, and I'd love more variety, but I think they've got enough. And I think it's just a case of, in that case, they should be so close that, it gets to the point of it's just personal preference, which is what they've always talked about. That's when you really get to that level of skill diversity, and there should just be no clear winner.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that's fantastic, and that's whilst it seems like a buff, and again I'm just mindful of, or at least my concern of just Inferno just getting stupid easy.
Yep.
Yes, it'll just be a straight up buff, but at the same rate, if they buff it just to the point where it's hard to make the decision between an existing skill that everyone's already using anyways, then you maybe nerf decision making, but apart from that, you didn't actually do anything in terms of overall balance, and you didn't actually make Inferno or any difficulty any easier. So I think that's great, and I'm stoked about that. Really stoked.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, hopefully it'll basically enable some different builds to be done, because I guess that's the whole idea. Yeah, I think. They're doing heaps of different class changes, so it's really hard to say at this point because we don't know much about what they're doing. But I guess the idea is to take those underused skills and give them buffs, and I think that's the only thing that it's a bit scary reading through it, because that's basically what he says. Is a skill underused? Buff it. And it's kind of like, That just seems too simple to be good. So I think that's what scares me about it. But hopefully they'll be good. I mean, I'm sure they'll obviously test things out. And, like you were saying before, Highlander, nothing is unchangeable in the future. So if it doesn't work, I'm sure they'll go back and see what they can do to make it work again. But yeah, it's pretty exciting. It'd be interesting to see. They're apparently going to be doing an individual blog post for each class. So yeah, that should be cool. Just quick things. Just the quick few points in there. It says that many damage-orientated resource spenders are receiving buffs, and one of the examples they give is the Monk's Wave of Light, which I think is something that no one really uses because it's just uses so much spirit for not that much damage. And it also says that Witch Doctors, Zombie Dogs, and Gargantuan are both receiving significant improvements. So
thank God! Oh my God!
Yeah.
Thank God!
We'll just have to see what they are.
I'm disappointed that they're not actually going to buff the Fetish Army as well, because I don't know if anyone's using that, but I haven't ever seen a Witch Doctor use that in Inferno, and it's those little guys are really cool. They're really, really fun, especially with
one person using it.
Yeah.
Yeah, apparently it's the only summon that is usable in Inferno. And for some, I can't remember what it was, but it was pretty niche, just like a bit of tanking for like a burst tank or something like that. I don't know.
Yeah, they can take a hit each. So
yeah,
and so that's gonna one of the I know that there's the rune which allows you to get a couple of extra little fetishes, and so yeah, it'll be that for just taking hits, and it's like quite situation specific, because if you've got anything with any area of effect around them, they're just all going to disappear. And it does do a good bit of burst damage, but its cooldown is really, really long as well. With this one rune where they deal like 200% weapon damage on summon, which they summon like the kind of a random area. So I've tried using it. I've found it's pretty useless in that respect. But they can do some good burst damage, but it's overall I'd love to see that really get buffed. But just like the whole thing about Witch Doctors can't summon Inferno because it's not usable, it's not viable. That was so disappointing.
Yeah, totally. It's
really sad.
It was a problem in Diablo 2, and I want them to have already thought of a solution for it in Diablo 3, but they haven't, because I might consider using a summoner if you could summon with them.
And it was something specifically mentioned in that Q&A on Reddit as well. People said, we're worried dogs aren't going to be useful in Inferno. And they're like, no, they scale pretty well.
Even with the nerfed Inferno, they still don't scale.
Even the when they're in Molten, they're going to need to do something for things like Molten as well, because your dogs are stupid, right? So they just stand there in the Molten. If they're still taking damage off things like that, then they're still going to be useless. And I hope that they buff them with not trash mobs in mind as well.
Yep.
Great, they can handle trash mobs. They scale well against trash mobs. Well, even if you just buffed their health by 5 to 10%, they're still trash mobs. So.
Yep.
Hopefully they manage that appropriately, because I'm really excited about that. That's the whole reason I went a Witch Doctor.
Yep. Yep. They did say that.
I'm sorry, Pat.
They did say that they would be doing some changes to the more frustrating affixes, like Molten and Fire Chains were the two examples they gave. So there will definitely be some changes to those two affixes at the very least, which I'm excited to see. Cool.
So Taya's in the chat, I think I got that name right, has a question, which I'm happy to take, and you guys can chime in on too if you want. Yeah, cool.
Yep.
Okay, so Taya's said, do you guys think that new legendaries will lower the value of greatly of existing legendaries, even the good ones? For example, Natalia's set and Skullgrass. So straight away, yes, the value existing legendaries are going to remain at their current stats. They're not getting buffed. So you're going to have, a collector's item, basically.
Yeah.
However, I think Natalia's set is not going to change, and I think some of the really good legendaries aren't going to change because they accidentally buffed Natalia's set with the discipline regen, and I think now I read something that was like, we're not going to try and tinker with stuff like that too much anymore. Like, they're going to take a bit more of a hands-off approach to things that are a little bit imbalanced, and I think they're going to leave that as Natalia's set straw. So I'm pretty confident Natalia's set isn't going to lose its value. I don't think it's going to change. And if it is, it'll be a small change, and it's still going to be really great because it's just such an awesome set bonus. I'm not too sure about Skullgrass, what the draw for those ones is, but I think the really good ones will still be okay, but the terrible, like the average ones and the okay ones are going to be collectors, trash items. What do you guys reckon? That's my thoughts, at least.
You go, Highlander.
Okay.
It's all you, buddy.
Yeah, I absolutely agree in theory that, everything existing is just going to become rubbish and nothing more than a collector's items. However, the one difference could be is in terms of what they do with the recipes that you can craft. And you'll be able to craft uniques, and they've said that they're going to be able to. I'm pretty sure I read it somewhere, and I think it was just a blue post, that it would include like craftable legendaries as well. So if you now have some really kick-ass craftable legendaries, then Fiery Brimstone is going to go through the roof, and you get your Fiery Brimstone by salvaging an Inferno difficulty unique. So if you have an Infernal difficulty unique, it's always going to match that price of Fiery Brimstone at the very least, unless people are dumb. And that happens from time to time, but people...
That has happened.
But the smart people come along and, correct them from their mistake or profit from it. So, and they're doing that really efficiently, actually. That's the only way I really see it going up, is if there's a recipe or two or more that's actually worth... that's got something that's actually really, really competitive.
Mm-hmm.
Now, that's an area where I'm a little bit concerned if crafted legendaries are really good because they're mass producible. So those ones are going to have quite a bit more random stats on them, I think, for them to actually do that. It'll, more random stats than you'd see on a legendary item that you have to find.
Yep.
But yeah, well, we'll see how that pans out. I mean, again, those random stats can make those legendaries super powerful as well. You get the right roll, it's worth Squazillions.
Yep. Cool. Yeah, well, I'm excited to see what the legendaries are going to be like. I mean, I guess that pretty much is a given that, current legendaries are going to lose value. I think at the moment they're pretty much... Most of them only have value because it is a legendary. So it almost is like a collector's item already, I'd say. I mean, I've kept all the legendaries that I've got. And I've got like 3, and I think 2 of them are like, one's like level 13 and one's under level 30, and the other one's like 50 something. So the 50 something one is really the only one that's possibly useful until I reach level 60 with whatever character I'm playing. So yeah, I think that they're definitely going to be losing value, apart from those ones like Natalia's that have really unique stats on them that are just super useful. So yeah, I think that almost goes without saying. So yeah, I think that's basically it. Did you want to do a Market Watch update, Highlander? Have you got some stats for us?
Just something that's a lot of people are already aware of, in that the gold price is dropping. It's been dropping for the last couple of weeks, and it's dropping fairly hard. So it seemed to stabilize a bit after they had the Bolt Wave ban, and then they introduced the Real Money Auction House. But it's dropping quite a bit in all the third-party websites, and you can see that reflected in the prices of pretty much everything else. So the gold price is going up at the moment. Things are appreciating in terms of gold price, which is what they always did. But they're continuing to depreciate in terms of US dollar value. So we're back on our normal trend now. Everything's back to normal. The botters are still going. So they're flooding the economy with gold. It's worse as people lose interest in the game as well. Because there's less people consuming that gold. So it's just coming in. It's not going anywhere. Everything can be expected to go up in terms of gold price value.
Yep.
The only exception, or the only possible exception really being, is those crappy items where they're becoming relatively more crappy. Over time, because more and more people are upgrading to those high level items, and what used to be a really high level 2 months ago is now just meh sort of material.
Yep.
So that's that's really the exception, and those sorts of things will get left behind. But overall, your absolute top tier items and your what do you call it? Your commodities. Their gold price is going up. But yeah, don't be mistaken for them becoming more valuable. The US dollar value is going down.
Right.
That's pretty interesting that the third-party website prices are still dropping so dramatically, even with the the arbitrary price floor in the auction house. I feel like that must be a sign that not many people. Well, more people are going to third-party sites, or it's obviously a sign of the the oversupply of gold. Now we're seeing that the bots are still going pretty strong from the earlier segment about the character profiles, but and it's just interesting that it's still going down like that.
Yep. Cool. Well, I guess that's about it for us tonight. Was there anything else you guys wanted to mention before we close it out?
We had a bit of a technical question from Bensky, which is about pretty much high-level Demon Hunter armors. So we might discuss that one next week, just because our resident Demon Hunter I know is getting a little tired. And it's outside my realm of expertise.
Just because I did the 13-hour drive. Well, I didn't, but I was involved in the 13-hour drive. I was present for it.
Yeah, I do know that in that space for the Innis pants, correct me if I'm wrong, but they're the ones that are they're one of the best options for adding movement speed off boots, and that's great, and it depends on your play style, in my opinion. And again, I'm not the Demon Hunter expert, but generally speaking, I think the common opinion is that if you've got a decent pair of pants somewhere else, then you're going to be better off. And Blackthorn's belt, I'm not sure if that's in the same boat as well. I have to definitely check that one out. So we'll answer that in more detail next week.
Yeah, totally. I'll do some
Cool.
sick research.
I've also noted it down so that we won't forget. Cool. So this has been the 16th episode of the Diablo Herald. I am Huego. I've had with me ZiggyD and Highlander. If you want to see further episodes, we upload them all to YouTube at youtube.com/Diabloherald. You can watch them being recorded live at usually 7 o'clock on Monday nights. That's Australian Eastern Standard Time. On Twitch TV/Diabloherald. You can follow me on Twitter at Diabloherald. If you have any questions, please direct them there. It'd be awesome to get some questions throughout the week to talk about on the podcast.
Yeah, that'd be sick.
Yeah. That's pretty much it. Ziggy, you want to do some plugs of your own?
Yeah, man, I'll plug all night if you want. I'm ZiggyD StarCraft on YouTube and Twitter. I make Diablo 3 content, Path of Exile content, and StarCraft content, strategy gaming, that's my thing. I also tweet about that sort of stuff and news and SEA stuff, everything on that on Twitter, so check those out. That's it for me, really.
Cool.
Okay,
Highlander?
short.
Yeah, I have a YouTube channel where I cover achievementy stuff and I cover Diablo 3 market stuff. That's on youtube.com/Diablo facebook.com/scottishmoo. You can also find me on Twitter at Highlander SC, and I tweet now. Very sorry to anybody who's been following me there and just copped a whole bunch of like 100 tweets or so over the weekend about
I'm
that
not sorry. That's
StarCraft
awesome.
event, which was very, very cool. I promise I won't do that to you any more than annually. So yeah, you can follow me there at Highlander SC. Just before I go, I just wanted to give a shout out to the Pink crew who are always there in chat and do seem a little bit butthurt at the moment. And I thought I'd also mention that one of those fellows, Intrepid, who is an absolute legend, did post a thread this week talking about Magic Find sharing, and he had a proposal that when you create a game, you can share your Magic Find or have the choice to share Magic Find or have it as individual, which arcs kind of back to Diablo 2 days a little bit in terms of having options when you create games as opposed to now. So we'll put that in the chat. Oh, sorry, we'll put that in the link below, and we'll post in the chat now. I'll do that part. And on the YouTube video, we'll
Actually,
put that
I've
in
got the link.
thing
I
below.
can post it.
You can do that? Cool. And we'll stick it in the YouTube comments as well. So I would be interested to hear your opinions, and we'll discuss them next week. So you can go and post a comment in that thread. Let them know what you think. We'll be interested to see what you guys think.
Mm-hmm.
I recommend it. Intrepid usually beats me to the news, so they're on the ball. They're on the ball.
Cool.
Cool. Also, before we finish, I thought I'd also mention if anyone is interested in being on the show, I'm always looking out for people to jump on and chat with us. If you have completed Inferno or even almost completed Inferno is fine, but definitely being
That's
being
good
up
because
there,
I need to make it in next week.
being up there is something that it's definitely required, and opinionated and well spoken helps. So hit me up on my Twitter at Diabloherald, and we could have you on the show. So that's it from us. Thanks for watching, guys.
Thanks so much, guys. It was awesome.
Cheers.
Bye.